Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our webinar on parenting with purpose. Thank you for joining us. Good evening. If you can hear me, would love you to tell us where you are joining us from. It's so good to have you this evening. Today promises to be a very lovely time, very lovely time. My name is Udwak. I'll be your moderator today, and with me, I have Ola. Ola will be joining me and will be moderating for this evening. The topic is really interesting. Hi, Ola. Your mic is muted, Ola. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, Doug. Happy to be here. Can't wait to get talking. Let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started. We'd like to invite Dr. Sui so she can tell us more about today's webinar. Dr. Sui.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this webinar. Promises to be an exciting time. We will just pause for the next few minutes just to have people join in. And then at 7:10, we'll just get right into the introduction to the webinar, and then we'll be ready to take a deep dive in. So in the meantime, enjoy Udwak and Olaoluwa as we wait, just allow for everyone to settle in.
Thank you, Dr. Sui. Thank you. Welcome everyone once again. Let us know where you're joining us from. We'd like to know if you're joining us from Abuja here or you're joining us from outside Nigeria. We are really expecting you. Ola, how was your day? And how are you? What's your expectation for today's webinar?
I'm a parent myself, and I am curious, intensely so, about what it means to parent in this day and age. And mental health is becoming, increasingly a topical issue globally, especially with COVID and with what has been called the pandemic of social media and devices affecting the mental health of teenagers. Really looking forward to what wealth of knowledge I can get from these sessions.
Yeah. Mental health really it's a serious issue today, and it's amazing that it's not, before it was supposed to be an adult thing, but it's amazing when you hear kids tell you I'm depressed and you're like, why? So
Yeah,
it's a topic for the moment and I'm really excited about it, really excited about it. Yeah.
yeah. One
Thank
of
you
the
and joining from different places. You're welcome. You're welcome. We appreciate you. Okay, Olau, you were saying something?
oh no, I was going to say that one of the things they tell you when you're on a plane is that in the case of turbulence or an incident, you should wear your own
Mm-hmm.
mask first. Before even
True.
wearing a mask for your child. So the
True.
mental health of parents is paramount. If you are not in the place where you should be, if your feet are not on the ground, mentally speaking, it will be hard to be the parent your child needs you to be. So this is a webinar that probably should happen every week. So
True that.
uh,
True that. Yeah.
I'm happy that we're having this at such a time.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this?
Well, hoping. No, not hoping. I believe by the time you leave here, you would know what next to do, especially how to handle yourself. Like I'm a mother of teenagers now, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
my last is just turned 13, so yeah. So I'm out of babies. So anyways, I thought the hard bit was going to be when you were having babies, right? So the sleepless night, nobody told you about that, the no time for
That's not the
yourself.
hardest.
That was my main, yeah, that was what I actually thought was, but I realized that they are bringing up a child has different stages. Like they grow to, it's like you're dealing with a different person, and then when you have more than
Right.
a child, you now realize that you're dealing with three different people, right? Three different personalities. Okay, maybe I'm saying three because I have three, depending on how many you have, so you're just dealing with different people. So every time you just have to keep growing, and sometimes you can find out that you are stuck. You might still be seeing your teenager like a small child, and that's on its own has its own issues. Okay, both on the child and on you. So these parenting seminars really help a lot. Webinars, yeah, they help a lot because they make
um,
you know how to handle a child at every stage. I remember when I went to a child, my one of
so
my
just to
child's
just to clarify
transfer
for those
time.
who are just joining, that this is not a
Okay.
webinar. This is just moderators chatting. We're going to start at
Oh yes, the
7:10.
webinar. Yeah, welcome, welcome. I got carried away. You're welcome.
No, no, I
You're
just wanted
well.
to
So we're waiting, trying
just
to get
so
more people on the platform before we start. So we just started a discussion. My name is Uduak for people that are just joining us, and I'll be moderating with Ola today. Later on, in a very short while, Dr. Sui will be joining us, and she would introduce what today's meeting and webinar is all about. So we are definitely not the experts here. We are just the people anchoring the event, But I mean, maybe like parents, we can try. Ola, what do you think? We have a bit of try.
I still I still have 10 years to even get up to your level of knowledge. Um, so
Yeah,
I am
well,
here as a moderator, superficially, when I'm really here as a participant to learn.
yeah, me too.
I
I'm
have
here to, especially the
I
mental
have my
health bit,
pen
really.
and my notebook.
Same. Because I don't think you really get, there are always something to learn every day. And that's why, like, I'm like always a student, always a student. It would surprise you that even in the children's church I take, the class I take, I'm like a teacher and a student. you know I learn too from the kids. So yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so I'm ready to
right.
learn, yeah, at all times. Okay, so yeah, we are almost there. Once again, for the people just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. Without you, this will not be um a webinar that we would enjoy. So we enjoy having you be here with us. So shortly now, and I'm going to call on Dr. Sui to come tell us more about today's meeting.
Thank you, Udwak, and thank you, Laulu. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. And the title of this webinar is Parenting with Purpose. It's part of a series of webinars that are hosted by the Junior Church of the Holyhill Church. And why do we do this? Because we think that skills development is also important for parents. There's an aspect of parenting that is almost impossible if we're not learning, unlearning, and adapting as we go along. We can't know it all. So when we have opportunities like this to come together, we learn from experts, we learn from one another, from people asking questions, and just creating the rich interaction that is necessary for us to get going. So the title for today's webinar, which is part of a series, is Parenting with Purpose. What does mental health have to do with it? And we think this is really an important conversation to have because, first of all, as parents, our mental health and well-being impacts on how our children, how we shape healthy futures for our children. Also, we think that parenting styles are important in also shaping the mental health and well-being and even future development of children. And then thirdly, we think that parental self-care matters. Yes, the parents also need care. I know sometimes we get so consumed or overwhelmed by all the things that we need to do for our children, and we don't take a step back to actually take care of ourselves, reflect on what a good social support system should look like for us, and then also the resources that we need to work and become successful parents. And then finally, a spirit-led life also matters, no matter the amount of resources and wisdom and knowledge that we have. We strongly believe that the guidance of the Holy Spirit also helps us to understand, especially when we're at critical intersections where we need to make very important decisions for our children. We think that there's a lot of trauma that we possibly will be saved from if we are led by the Spirit and we have an understanding of some decisions to make and what sort of motivations to go by, as according to God's word. So we timed this for the Children's Day because we thought that while we celebrate our children today, is also important for us to learn and reflect on some things that will take us from tonight on the journey to become better parents. And this is not limited to having toddlers, whether you have toddlers, older teenagers or babies, there's always something to learn, and so that's why we timed it for today. So we earnestly hope that as we walk through the conversations today, we have an expert panel. Lauli will be introducing them shortly. And we hope that we can't cover everything today, but we're hoping that we get you reflecting, some time for self-reflection, readiness to think about new ways of doing some things that we have been doing, readiness to unlearn some things that may actually not be the right path. And then for some of us who are already in traumatic situations or situations that have impacted on the life and well-being of our children, hopefully we can come from tonight's conversation and be on that road to recovery, restoration, and eventually shaping better futures for our children. So I don't want to take much more time because we have people who are going to really help us have the conversations we need to have tonight. So I hope that you learn something, you have a good time. Please feel free to drop your comments as we go along so that the panelists can take your questions, the speakers can take your questions, and also write down some of your reflections so that from tonight, you have action points for the future. Thank you, and we're looking forward to a fruitful conversation today. God bless you.
Okay, I get
Thank
time
you,
to
Dr.
introduce.
Sui. I think. Okay. Hello, Ola. Yeah, it's time to
Hello,
let us.
yes, it's time
Yes, our
to
panelists. Yeah.
introduce our expert panel. So you would see a slide introducing the first person, and our first expert here is Pastor Chakor Ogidigbo. She is primary among what she is a passionate lover of God, and a hunger for God was ignited in her university days when she desired for more out of life and knew that she could only find it in God. Chakor believes strongly in the basic and fundamentals and principles of Christianity. She believes that without discipline, one cannot truly carry out one's purpose on earth. She's married to Pastor Sunday Ogidigbo, who is her best friend, and her husband. And together they pastor Holyhill Church, Abuja, a vibrant church with several centers around the Federal Capital Territory. She's a convener of SOA Conference, a biennial program that is attended by all, but it's targeted particularly at women to see beyond themselves and to drive them to see treasures embedded in them. She's trained as a lawyer with a first-class degree from Cardiff University and an LLM from Birmingham, and has been called to the Nigerian bar. She and her husband are parents to 4 beautiful children, Zoe, Adele, Orit, and Jesse. Join me to welcome Pastor Chakor Ogidigbo. And on to the next expert on our panel, Dr. Ajirotutu Omotayo, who is a consultant clinician. He's a clinical psychologist. He's passionate about self-development, training, and individual wellness. He has more than 25 years of experience across different clinical practices, including but not limited to psychological intervention for people who have various forms of psychological distress. And Dr. Tayo believes in the holistic individual and has channeled this focus to study human behavior. Dr. Tayo has a doctoral degree in clinical psychology, an MPhil from the University of Badon, and a master's degree from the University of Lagos. He has a first degree in psychology from Enugu State University in Enugu. He has served in various capacities at both local and national levels, offering psychological solutions to various issues. He's a trainer by excellence, and we're happy to have him today. In fact, we are privileged to have him today. On to the next expert. We have Mr. Tejiri Chunu. He's fondly known as TJ. He's a creative thinker, a brand strategist, and a teen, like teenager, reformation advocate. And he's also a speaker. He's a born and bred warrior. He passionately seeks the mental awakening and value reorientation of young Nigerians. He holds a diploma in computer technology, a BSc in computer science, and a certificate in brand strategy. His practical approach to godly living, creative leadership has informed his obtaining a advanced leadership diploma from WFP and an advanced certificate in leadership from the Daystar Leadership Academy. He has also been active in the general leadership development space. He is one of the 100 young professionals selected for a master's class with Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili for training on leadership and sustainability. He has a passion for creative transformation and reformation of teenagers, and is the director of special programs of the Agape Force, a teenage body with over 25,000 members in Nigeria. He is also the programs director of the CYF Annual International Youth Summit in Benin that seats over 6,000 Nigerian youths. Join me to welcome Mr. Chunu to the panel. This is our panel, and I will hand it over to Udwak as we dive straight into this.
Thank you, Ola. Welcome, Pastor Chakor. Welcome, Dr. Omotayo, and welcome, Mr. Tejiri. We are privileged to have you in our midst. Welcome, Pastor Chakor. Welcome, Dr. Omotayo, and welcome, Mr. Tejiri once again.
Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome. Nice to have you. And we are so excited to learn from your wealth of knowledge. Okay, so our first question this evening is going to our only lady in the panel. Ladies first. Pastor Chakor. We're so happy to have you, ma.
Thank
Welcome. Yeah, so
you.
good evening, yes. So like the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. What does this scripture mean, and how can parents fulfill it, in our daily parenting lives?
Thank you. So that scripture is taken from Proverbs 22, verse 6. God has given us parents. I believe we're all parents, most of us here. He has placed that responsibility on us to train. And to look at that scripture, we would have to look at the definitions of some words there. And one of those words is train. So to me, to train means to teach a person, a particular skill. We see it being done in companies, and when they want to train their employees, they would take them somewhere, maybe for a month or 2 weeks, and give them some training. So God expects us to do that with our children. We instill the things we want to see in that child, because we are preparing them for the future, we are preparing them for the world. So God expects us to train, that's to instill behaviors, principles, skills, things like respect, integrity, hard work, organizational skills, and this is done through practice and instructions. So that's what that means to me. It means to instruct. As parents, we must see ourselves as instructors, as teachers, as our children's coaches, as their mentors, as their like Jesus was to his disciples. We are to disciple them, and just put the skills, put the things we want to see in them, and we're to train them. So we should train them in the way they should go, and that way they should go is the godly direction, the godly way. And this training is done by you're listening to them, you're talking with them, you're having fun with them, you're practicing good behavior, reinforcing good behavior, introducing new experiences to these children, as it is important for us to do these things while they are under care. We as parents, we have a huge influence over our children. God expects us to, do these things, instruct, teach, model righteousness, model the things we want them to walk in. It's not even necessarily just even instructing or talking. How do we behave when certain things happen in the home? The way we behave as parents is how children will behave, not necessarily what we tell them to do. So we also have to be conscious of our behaviors around our children. So that's what I understand by that scripture. It has a lot in it for us as parents, and I believe God has given us grace to do these things with our children, and the way to fulfill it. And of course, every child is different. The way you are going to train child A might be different from the way you train child B, because of their different personalities and temperaments and talents that they came with and all that. So, of course, with the help of the Holy Spirit, we will know how to deal with each child accordingly. And the way to fulfill it for us as parents is that, I'm going to the second part of the question. The way to fulfill it as parents is to first ask God for the grace, because it really takes grace, being committed, like you have mentally and psychologically, you've already taken it in that I'm going to do this. I'm going to raise up my child accordingly, according to how it should be done. So we have to be deliberate about it. We have to commit time to it. So it will require us giving our time, giving ourselves, to these children. Then, of course, you were talking earlier on about being open to learning. So when you learn different things, you know how to apply it in your different situation, in the home, in the parenting. And I hope I'm still online. I think I should be. I'm
Yes,
still
you
online.
are.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
We can hear
So
you
so I,
clearly.
so that's the second part of it I've dealt with. Is you have to be committed, diligent, be deliberate, and just be ready to make time available for these children that God has given to us.
Thank you, Pastor
So I'm
Chakor.
done with it.
I heard about the modeling. We have to be the role model for our kids. Thank you very much. Just to remind
Hello.
everybody, please do take notes like I am now, your book, write the points, write the questions, and start sending in your questions. We'll take questions after all the discussions. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Motayo, you are next. And it's the topic of the day. Can't wait to delve into it. Yeah. Okay, so in what ways does parental well-being impact the healthy development of a child? How can parents balance their own mental health needs with those of their children?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, all.
Good evening. Yeah.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Am I right? Okay, well, this discussion will explore the critical role of mental health in effective and purposeful parenting. And we also intend to offer insight and strategies of nurturing the well being of the entire family. And this entails both the parents and also the children. Well, parental mental health plays a crucial role in shaping a child's emotional well-being and that child's development. But parenting is a profound journey that shapes the life of both the parents and the children. So, so a parent's mental well-being is supposed to impact that child's development and the overall happiness of that child. So when parents are mentally healthy, they can provide a very nurturing and stable environment for children in terms of these specific areas. When you talk about that those children's emotional wellness, their social interaction with people around them, because as they grow, their life revolves around three areas: school life, family life, and their religious life. Either the different religions which they belong to. So those and their cognitive growth. Those are those areas which, if parents have good mental health, they'll be able to nurture these children to develop in those areas. So parental mental health challenges can disrupt a family's dynamic and hinder a child's ability to thrive, either spiritually, academically, socially, and other areas of their life. So when parents struggle with mental health challenges, it can have negative impact on these children in the area of sense of security, resilience, and even long-term outcomes. Because some individuals, some of their childhood experiences or what they went through during childhood later brings out a lot of outcome in future, which I've seen over years in practice. So therefore, a parent's mental health being is crucial. And that cruciality talks about effective guiding and supporting these children. So when parents prioritize their own emotional health, they are better equipped to create a nurturing and stable environment, foster the growth of these children and also the family as well. So maintaining a positive mental health enables parents to model healthy coping strategies, regulate their emotions, and respond to their children's needs. So looking at the question, how does parents parental conflict and trauma affect the mental health and the development of the child. Well, conflict is natural, it's supposed to happen or exist in the family. So some conflicts with parents can be regarded as normal part of family relationship during childhood, adolescence, and these conflicts are thought to affect the development of the child, which will help that child develop its autonomy and also create his or her own individuality. So, however, too many conflicts are risky for adolescents and psychosocial adjustment and well-being. So definitely conflicts will be in the family. We'll always have that. But when it snowballs from normalcy to abnormality and start affecting the child's development, it becomes an issue. So these effects can manifest in various ways, depending on the nature, the intensity, and also the duration of the conflict or the trauma, as well as the child's age, because you need to take that child's age into consideration. If you look at when we say children, even when we say children, you can easily classify them as early childhood, late childhood, adolescent stage, teenage, then even young adults. Well, where we put those young adults now, we look from 18 to probably 20, 22, 23. It depends on where you classify it. But adulthood starts from 18. But we always bring our culture into context, even as we who are in our 50s, 40s, and 30s. Once we still have parents, we are still children. So bring cultural values into it. So here are some of the effects. We'll be looking at two major effects from two perspectives. One, the psychological and developmental effects. The psychological and emotional effects it has on these children's developmental milestones is so large. When you talk about issues of anxiety and depression, well, we all know what depression is. And in the older days, you said, why would a child be depressed? But now, we say young children as early as 9, 10, 8, 12 presenting with depression to the clinics. So you have issues of depression, low self-esteem, which is another major one. Behavioral issues, another major one. Children may exhibit a range of behavioral problems, which include aggression, withdrawal from people, then also trouble in school, they throw tantrums, bullying and all that. Those are some of the behavior you see that these children manifest. And they might mimic they might actually observe some of these from their home. Because the mind of a child is like a slate. It is what is written there that these children learn. So they see aggression at home, violence at home. Those are the things they are going to imbibe. So those are some of the things these children will pick from home. Then also traumatic symptoms or post-traumatic stress disorder could also be a factor which could affect a child. So children may exhibit a range of behavioral problems, like I said. So even for the trauma, several parental conflicts or exposure to violence can result in these symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder when these children have flashbacks. Example, they see parents beat up themselves, they see aggression at home, they start having nightmares and several anxieties. So these are some of the things that they observe within their environment. Then also issues of attachment issues. Some of these children are not able to break up from their parents. Even when they get to age of adolescence, when you prepare them for secondary school, they have to go to boarding school. So because some parents over time find it difficult to disengage and help these children to build their independence. You help a child to build his or her independence. That is where it comes in there. So even trust issues are also there. Then also, this would also have negative impact on their academic performance and social interactions with people. There's this issue of self-misconception, and identity formation is not adequate. So when these children go through all these psychological issues, they find it difficult to start identifying who they are. The issue of low self-esteem, self-conception, self-misperception. These are all these things that build over time, which affect a child's development. We also look at the developmental effect of the cognitive aspect, where chronic stress from parental conflict can impair a child's cognitive function, such as concentration, memory, and problem-solving skills. A child who is going through cognitive process or cognitive issues would not be able to concentrate in school. And what are the basic requirements for learning? Just attention and concentration. It is when a child has attention and concentration, that is when learning can take place. Even we adults, once you lack attention and there's no concentration, you can't be productive at work. So cognitive development is another area. We also look at the social development, which talks about children from high conflict homes may struggle with forming and maintaining healthy relationships. And this is what we see over time. A child who grew up in a very toxic environment, because that is what he or she has learned over years. And it takes that through those different stages of early childhood, late childhood, adolescent, and all that, and transfers into adult. So anywhere that individual is toxic.
Yes,
he has difficulties in managing relationship. Then also you talk about emotional regulation. When a child is not able to control his or herself, or to take charge of his or her own anger issues, which we are seeing now. Look at the case at the present case we had at they have a time now at Ajirotutu University. A student stole a phone, and the owner of the phone and some friends can go and beat him till he died. Oh no, they are going to jail. Going to jail. We have it's all over the social media now. They were not able to manage their emotions. They're not able to refrain their anger, and they took it beyond all control. And that is what we have now. They're going to jail. 6 of them has been arrested because they could not control their emotions. So those are some of the things we talked about emotional. Then we look at some long-term consequences, issues like chronic mental issues, depression, anxiety, and also personality, relationship problems, substance use as well, which is a major problem which we have at hand now, which is an escape route for the youth. They will give you all reasons why they are using drugs. Some would always attribute it, I was emotionally deprived, I lacked this, I was physically abused. There's so many issues which they build up, and those are some of the long-term consequences which we have at hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I can see the passion, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, so at least now we can identify with the reason why some children behave the way they do and take notes as parents. Yes. Mr. Tejiri, welcome once again. And the next question is for you. Is parenting a learned set of skills that can be acquired and improved? And what is the role of learning in effective parenting of children? Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much, Udwak. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, everyone watching. And thank you for the opportunity to share. I want to also appreciate my co-panelists who have shared, especially Dr. Tayo, who came with so much fire. And he was hitting the nail so hard on the head that I was like, if this was all we had, I think we've done great tonight. Thank you so much. So is parenting a learned skill? Very interesting question. You know, I always ask in my sessions, who taught you parenting? So the answer is yes and no. I'll start with a no because it's an innate part of our creation. We were created by God in his image. So God's nature fosters development. God's nature cares, it creates. God created man and he came to dwell with man, and that's the nature of God. So if God created us in his image, by default, taking care of is a natural. However, just like we know that talking is natural, communicating is a skill. So parenting at that level is a skill that should be learned. And it's the reason why we have a lot of parents who, going back to what Doctor was talking about, who need parenting. There are a lot of parents who need parenting because they have not learned the skill. So what they do is they pass on the baggage of their trauma, they pass on the challenge of their past onto the child, and therefore damaging the child, which further damages the home and then damages the society. So it is innate, and then it's a learned skill that parents need to. So this is me telling every parent here is, I know you've done fantastic, but please ensure you engage in learning and developing that skill. The way you produce high flyers, the way you produce all the amazing children you desire to, it's not by praying hard, but by developing the skill, the capacity to grow. So just imagine, if I don't have the capacity to teach your child French or whichever language you want, or maybe whatever subject, the question is, would you hire me? So think about it in that light. Then you went further to ask, what's the role of learning in effective parenting, which I had just started talking about. It plays a crucial role. It influences how parents nurture and guide and support. Talking about parenting, we get to understand that just like Pastor Chakor said, in the definition of parenting, it's a training. Every English definition will tell you, use the word raising, and in raising you are training. And let me talk a little bit about training here. Everything you do consistently is training. The way you talk to your child is you're training your child how to talk. The way you respond to your child, you are training your child how to respond. Everything you do as a parent is training, because you are the first and most likely best introduction of what life is to your child. So continuous learning allows parents to adapt to their children's evolving needs from time to time, and the changing dynamics of family and the society as we see today. So learning can help you understand your child's development. So what makes my child different? What are the phases? What is he responding to? Most times by default, you can, if you observe, you get to learn that all your children are not the same. They respond differently to different things. But the question here is, are you raising them with the peculiarity of the kids, or you are raising them as children? For learning, when we talk about learning styles, you hear things like they are auditory learners, they are kinesthetic learners, and all that, visual learners. Imagine you having, so I have a son who is a kinesthetic learner. He learns by doing. So every time he goes to the class and he's sitting, he's just hearing so much that he's not comprehending. The moment you sit with him and you are showing him, he does it like he knew it yesterday. Currently, he's running he's designing his own program. I've been trying to teach him, someone has been trying to teach him programming, and he never understood it. So I got a laptop and I got the video. I said, watch this guy, see what he's doing, and see if you can replicate it. Guess what happened? As at yesterday night, when I just returned home, my son has designed his first computer game. So you need to understand your child's development. It helps you know their needs per time. It also helps you improve your parenting strategies and techniques. It helps you grow in emotional intelligence, and this is key. A lot of us are, with all due respect, sometimes a lot of us can be emotionally dumb because we think the pressure of the society is on us, the demands of your work is on you, the unknown trauma of your past is within you, and then your child comes up crying or nagging. The next thing you do is you pour that anger. And when it comes to the part of discipline, we do not even understand what discipline is. So we think discipline is beating, and then when you're beating your child, what you do is you're transferring all the pain and all your anger, on the child. So most times we're emotionally dumb as parents because we just react and then we transfer aggression. So learning these skills help you improve your emotional intelligence. It also provides educational support. So the more you learn, one of the things it does is it gives you access to those who can help you learn on your journey, and then it gives you also access to support system and resources. So these are part of the things why learning this parenting skill is important for you to help your children. I think I'll stop here because of time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tejiri. Thank you so much. So learning parenting skills helps us with emotional intelligence. Good point there. Pastor Chakor, we are back to you.
All right.
Yeah, we love to see your lovely face again. So your next question is, does parenting style matter in shaping a child's mental health and well-being? And can you expand on this?
Oh, yes, definitely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to my co-panelists. I've learned a lot. Yes, parenting style does affect, it does matter, yes. It matters, and of course it can affect a child's mental health either positively or negatively. Basically, parenting style is just how we interact with our children and how we have chosen to raise our children. And they're different. There are like 4 primary parenting style. We have the authoritarian. Then we have the authoritative. Let me start that way. Authoritative style. We have the authoritarian parenting style. We have the permissive parenting style, and we have the uninvolved / neglecting parenting style. So I'll start with the first one. The authoritative parenting style. These are just primary styles. There are other different styles, but we'll just focus on these 4 primary parenting style. The first one, the authoritarian parenting style, is the most acceptable because it affects the child positively. It affects their mental health positively. Basically, this parenting style, that's the authoritative parenting style, is child-centered. So therefore, it's more of nurturing a child and not controlling a child. You nurture. The other one, which is authoritarian, is parent-centered. So it's more focused on, some of those things have already been explained by Mr. TJ and the doctor. So the authoritative parenting style is accepted as the healthiest, the most positive of all the styles. It's a child-centered and responsive. They are openly affectionate with the child. They talk to the children. They respect the children. They listen. They attend to the child. These are parents that when the children go to school and come back, you ask them, how are you? How was school today? You find a way of engaging the child to find out how things went in their school, to find out how they are doing for real. So basically you have the right question to ask them so that they can talk. And this style has proven to be one of the best style because here you are focused on that child, on nurturing that child. You are focused on training that child. And the authoritarian is the opposite of it. Basically, the child, they are not necessarily, they're more controlling. You don't ask such parents, why are you asking me to do this? They don't explain things to the children. It's very controlling, very strict way of bringing up children. And these children in this kind of upbringing where the parents are authoritarian, they tend to be negatively mentally disturbed in the sense that they fall into depression. They are not they're not independent because they have always been told what to do and all that. They get depressed. They don't achieve much. Because they've not been allowed to express themselves while growing up. So that's how it can affect, I mean, not necessarily all the children, but that's the effect on the mental health of such children that grow under the authoritative parenting style. Then we have the permissive one. The permissive parenting style, basically, these parents want to be friends with their children. So they show a lot of affection. They show a lot of affection. They don't enforce the rules that they have set. Maybe they've set a certain rule, but if the child doesn't follow it, they don't enforce it. They just let the child be, and they give too much. Maybe it's, like I say, too much love. They just leave that child to do what they want to do. Though you show affection and all that, but those parents in such homes are not necessarily nurturing the child. So it also has an effect on their mental health. I'll come back to that. Then we have the uninvolved parents, where that's the uninvolved or neglecting parents. In this case, these parents, the children here are left. The Bible says a child, or it's not the Bible, I'm not sure if it's the Bible, but a child left on its own will be frustrated because there's no guidance. They are left to fend for themselves, and they are basically left to raise themselves up. Nobody's teaching them what to do, how to do it, and all that. So, so that's the fourth one. And now I'll come now to speak on the other part of the question, which you asking of how does the parenting style affect each child. So I've already mentioned that in the authoritative parenting style, the children here are self-reliant. They are mentally healthy because they've been taught to express themselves. The child, you've put some training in there, you've guided them. So therefore, they are more cooperative, they are well adjusted, they are responsible, they know how to take the right decisions because you have been involved in their lives, you have guided them, you've explained things to them, why you are telling them to do this. And if they ask you a question, you don't just shout at them or but you just explain things to them. So it affects their mental health positively. They grow up to become mentally healthy. While the children from authoritarian homes, like I said, they feel undervalued because they are never allowed to express themselves. Parents in such home abuse their children in sense of maybe verbally and unnecessary punishments, which they would term as discipline. So children from such homes, they have a risk of anxiety, depression, withdrawal from others, low self-esteem, and at times aggression. These are the children that they become troubled. So mentally, they are not healthy. So because of the way the parents have brought them up. Then you have the permissive. Permissive also affects the children brought up in permissive with permissive parenting style. Basically, they also are negatively affected mentally. They become depressed, they can be impulsive because you've not taught them control, you've allowed them to do so many things. So they can be rebellion, they have lack of self-control, they have low achievements because you've not expected much from them, you've not guided them, you've just allowed them because you want them to be your friend, you don't want to hurt their feelings. So those parents that bring up their children in the permissive parenting style, that's the effect it will have on them mentally. And of course, the unloved, the uninvolved and neglected children, uninvolved and neglected parenting style. Children brought up in such homes also are seriously negatively mentally affected because nobody has trained them. They've not had any coach, no mentor, nobody. So they don't know their left. You have certain cases where if they, for some reason, God brought the right people to their lives who end up parenting them. But usually most negative way, because they don't know their left from their right. So they can grow up aggressively because they've learned to fend for themselves. So emotionally, they might be very hard, and they will deal with a lot of things, mentally too as well. They feel unloved as well, and that can affect one mentally. They will have low self-esteem as well. They could be depressed because they feel rejected and all that. That would affect them negatively also in the world. So that's how that's how the different parenting styles we adopt.
Okay, I think we lost Pastor Chakor there. But that was such an
In the
interesting
different circumstances we are in.
discussion on the styles of parenting. Such interesting discussion. Pastor Chakor, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I think I'm.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
network is not stopping us from getting all we have to get today.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so time runs away when you're having fun, and in this case, learning a lot. But we'll still have to get 2 more questions in. Dr. Omotayo, the next question is to you. What are the early signs in a parent or a child teenager that might indicate a mental health concern? Can you tell us what that is in a short time so we can get our questions into? Thank you.
Okay. We have to start working with time now so that we can address this quickly. So, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to split it into 2 to look at the signs for parents, then the signs that might indicate a mental health concern for parents, and the sign that might indicate a mental health concern for children. But looking at the signs of mental health concerns in parents is so crucial for timely intervention and support. So here are some signs to look out for in both groups. Well, for the parents, we look at 5 domains. We have change in mood and behavior, change in daily functioning, the physical symptoms, substance use, and also parental challenges. So we'll first take the 5 for the parents. And when we talk about change in mood and behavior, these are things that are so observable that you don't need any professional to tell you. If somebody is sad, constant sadness, which also falls under depression. And under depression, you have about 4 major domains there: the cognitive, the behavioral, the physical, and the emotional. So once you start observing that you see parents become sad, probably due to some experiences they are going through, and they become depressed, it's so obvious. And even for the children now, because you have to always take the ages of these children into consideration. Because by the time a child is an adolescent, and in this generation, by late childhood, they know a lot of things. So they are able to observe these changes. So in adults, in parents, you see persistent sadness or depression. They become irritable. They become angry over nothing. They become frustrated easily. And when you start seeing parents exhibiting, there's provoked anger, there's unprovoked anger. They become angry over at the slightest thing. Then you start noticing that something is actually wrong. There's also withdrawal from family activities and social interaction. For a very friendly and happy dad suddenly comes back from work and moves to his room. He's always in his bedroom, not interacting with the children anymore. Those are some of the signs. Noticeable anxiety and excessive worries also. Those are some of the signs you notice. There's this change of mood swing. You could be happy in the morning, then later in a very, very low mood in the evening. Or could also be vice versa. So those are some of the things you observe in change in mood and behavior. They talk about change in daily activities. I've explained some of that. I talked about difficulty concentrating, of making decisions, you know, lots of interest in hobbies or activities that he used to enjoy. Like a dad that enjoys watching Premiership League, it's not even putting on the TV. Or a mom who is a fashionista suddenly stop dressing. She's so picky about what she wears. Suddenly she's wearing low slippers to work, not making her hair, her clothes are rough and all that. So it tells you something is wrong. Neglect of personal hygiene and self-care. Change in eating habits. It could be also sleep pattern. When you talk about sleep pattern, it could be excessive, or it could also be insomnia, whereby he or she is not sleeping. And it could also be eating as well, overeating or poor appetite. Those are some of the start seeing on the daily changes. Then you talk about the physical symptoms, which you see in parents. There could be explained headaches and pains. There's this constant headache. Constant, even despite using Panadol and all pain relievers, the pains are still there. It could be psychological, because some psychological pains, some psychological experiences snowball into physical pains. And even when tests are done, they keep telling them that, oh, there's something wrong with you. We can't find anything. We've done all these tests. Nothing. But unless those psychological pains are addressed, that is when that individual will get relief. The issue of fatigue, loss of activities, and all that are still some of the physical symptoms you experience in parents as well. So we also look at the issue of substance use, which a lot of parents use to cope. Substance use, increased use of alcohol. It's not only the males alone. Not only the males alone. And, you know, we're talking about parenting. We are even living out single parenting as well. It's still parenting. And the single mothers, single fathers also going through a lot. So what do they use? Some of them use alcohol to cope, loneliness and all that. Some use drugs as well, especially alcohol for men, which is socially accepted. And some will take it higher by using some major psychoactive substances, which could lead to major mental breakdown. They will also look at the parenting challenges, which is the fifth on the radar there. Difficulty bonding with children, inability to take care of the family as a whole, as a man, increased conflict or negative interaction with children, and also inconsistency and overly harsh in discipline towards the children. That era of beating children physically with whips and all that is gone. So there are so many methods which can be used. Oh yeah, we are talking with them. We are interacting with them. You have to go into them because it's gone beyond beating. Because once you keep beating, they get used to it. And you could see even a small, an early child, a child in early childhood who is about 5 years. Once you keep beating that child, the child gets used to it. Oh, if I commit an offense, I'll be beaten. So even once you bring the cane, before you bring the cane, the child has stretched his or her hands out. So it has become a pattern. So beating, it's not the way. Harsh discipline, you cannot use starvation to deal with a child, to punish a child. Because if you deprive a child food, the child will look for other ways. He or she can steal. So please, parents need to take that into consideration. Then quickly, let us look at the children and teenagers. Some of the signs and symptoms you see there. I looked at 6 domains there. The emotional changes, there exists persistence, sadness, and crying, like we see in adults, excessive fear and worry, feelings of worthlessness, feelings of hopelessness. And that is very, very dangerous. Those symptoms, if you look under the ranking of cognition, that is when a child might attempt suicide. Because once the child feels he or she is worthless, he or she is hopeless, and there's no reason to keep living, a child can attempt suicide. So we need to take that into consideration. We also talk about mood swings, or issues of unexplained anger, which we see in emotional changes. For the behavioral change, there's decline in, for the behavioral changes, you see decline in school performance or total absenteeism from school, withdrawal from friends, families, and activities, loss of interest in activities or hobbies, or even playing as well. Increased aggression, it could be verbal, it could be physical. Then also oppositional behavior. This child becomes confrontational towards parents, towards uncles and aunties. It challenges adults. We want to look into that. What could be responsible for these changes? There's also significant change in that child's personality. We want to look at the physical symptoms, periodic complaints of physical ailments, changes in eating or sleeping pattern, like we see in adults, self-harm behavior, deliberate self-harm behavior, like cutting him or herself. We've seen so much presentations in the hospital when a child would deliberately harm him or herself. They would look at also social changes, isolation from peers and family members, difficulty forming and maintaining friendship, that increased conflicts with peers, friends, neighbors, and family members as well. It depends. You also have to take these children's ages into consideration. Teenagers, adolescents as well, when they feel they start discovering themselves. So also some of them will get into risky behavior, experimentation of drugs, alcohol, and all that, engagement in risky sexual behavior, then also running away from home and transit, cognitive changes as well, like unexplained dropout in grades in school, and also indecision.
Dr. Tayo.
I'm rounding up, and also that was my last statement anyway. So I dropped the baton. So I hand over the baton to TJ.
Yes, it's Mr. Tejiri's time. Thank you so much, sir. I can see the passion. It's so hard to speak while we are in the flow, and we are learning a lot too. Thank you. Mr. Tejiri. So the last question we'll take in this segment before the question and answers, because we need to give our audience time to ask you the important questions. Yeah, so in a short time too, can you tell us how social media, social pressure shape parenting in the 21st century?
Always amazing to come after Dr. Tayo. And I hope I can run with his passion and energy. So we are all hooked to social media. I'm saying all unapologetically, because I know some of us will say we are trying to keep our distance away. We don't have accounts here and there, but technology is a tool for communication. So one way or the other, we have got ourselves hooked. So for a pastor who says, I'm not on social media, his church is on social media. For a businessman who says, I'm not on social media, his business is on social media. So social media has become a necessary tool for connection, for communication, and more. And it is reshaping parents in the 21st century. It's influencing how parents perceive their roles as parents, how they make decisions, how they interact with their children, and so much more. So one of the things about human behavior is that we learn from what we learn and evolve from the things we receive. Social media has fed us as individuals and then now as parents. So you want to look at the narrative. Let me deviate a little and then quickly come back. You now see how social media is pushing one DNA trend, and it's making everybody even doubt what they believe. That's how social media is affecting the human. And remember, as a parent, you're a human. So one of the things it has done, this is very negative, it has brought parental comparison and competition. You see parents, trying to, it could be against, will be spouse against spouse. It could be parents against, the world. They are seeing other parents flaunting pictures that are not real. I remember growing up, we had this neighbor who every Christmas they went to the US for vacation. And like, Daddy, you couldn't take us abroad kind of response we had. Count the years down the line, I met her online and we're having conversation and we're just reeling back all our childhood experiences. And then I mentioned, man, you guys were enjoying traveling to the US and all that. And then she said that the reason she was coming to my house because she envied my family, that all those things, that we saw were just makeup. So that when the father goes to the village, he can now brag with the right that, he did this and he did that. And eventually the family broke up. So now that has become heightened and more frightening with social media. Everything you see on your face. So I could even use AI now to change my current location and probably be thinking I'm calling from one of those Elon Musk tube taking me to Mars or something. So it makes us compare. Parents, I wanted to do this for my children to see this child and all that. It has given us, and now this is also positive and negative. It has given us access to information, and that's positive. So parents can learn the parenting style by just going on YouTube, looking for one research, following certain videos of certain coaches, and that's good. But also, just aligned to one of the first things I said, it has also brought misinformation, and you get to realize that misinformation travels faster than the real intent of the information. I talked about, it also brings about the pressure to perform and share. So you want the world to now see you as the right parent. On my status, last night I got home and my daughter wasn't feeling too well. And since she was born, there's another angle to this, but since she was born, I got to realize that a lot of parents are spending time projecting what is not right. And I'll talk about that in a bit. So I decided to start to project what is right as a coach. So I wanted to teach, and I can't teach what I am not practicing. So I started something, for nursing fathers. I started a nursing fathers community, and that whole process was to get fathers to understand that they can be involved in parenting. And then also, as the child grew, some of the things she was showing, I started showing that you can model rightly, because that's one of the things I said, social media helps you do. And then that can put the wrong pressure on people, because don't you see how he's doing it? Why shouldn't you do this? No, we need to understand our own frameworks before we start applying strategies. So last night I got home, she wasn't feeling too fine. And I said, what do you do? She said, Daddy, let's pray. And she prayed, and I recorded it and I put on my status. Somebody will see that and will say, why is my child not praying? How old is this? This is not like your child, I see there's so much pressure. And when your child starts praying, you want to record and show to everybody that, yes, see, my child is also praying. No. My parenting goals are very much different from yours. You should know what your goals are, and then you should know what exactly we talked about understanding your child's behavior earlier when I spoke. If you understand that, know your parenting goal, know the conditioning around you, and that is a whole lot we can't talk right now. It helps you know what to do. Another thing, it has brought a lot of criticisms and judgment. It has I'll talk about something I said I'll mention. There was a recent video that was circulated about bullying, and I asked a question to those sharing it in the group. I first said such videos should not be shared anywhere, and people attacked me. And I asked the question, if it was your child, would you share that video? Or if it was your child's video in the background, would you be proud when you see that video shared? And everybody went mute. Sometimes we forget that it's easy to want to share, but we're exposing our children wrongly. And just like Dr. Tayo was talking earlier, it worsens their mental health. So we create the environment for them to be sick mentally by our actions. So I said, can we not teach those things? And you see, Pastor Chakor can tell us here, when she's teaching in church, does she call the people's name or bring the whole scenarios and paint because she wants to teach a lesson? No. You could just mention the example and get people to learn. So we expose our children, and even legally, we can be. There's a part of the law that will indict you for sharing such videos. So that's also a negative of how it's influencing, parenting. But positively also, it helps create a community where you can get support. There's support networks, there are places you can go. So I run this digital parenting tribe where parents help them, learn how to raise children who are responsible, productive, and safe online. And then when they get so overwhelmed, there's a community they can get to and they get responses. So, it also has helped, and that's positively. And then also, because of time, because I know we have Q&A, it also helps impact on the parent-child relationship. And let me say this before I end. Talking about parent-child relationship, and I'll go back to training up a child in the way it should go. Many of us get digitally distracted by this. Your child is talking to you. I know what you, and I ask every parent watching here. Today was Children's Day. How much? Children's Day happens once in a year. Mothers have like 4 or 5 or 10. Fathers were trying to beg to make it 2. But children have just one day the whole year. Yes, so like I can see you laughing, because, did you give them today? And if at all your answer was yes, when they were with you, did you give them a device or put on TV to distract them? We fail to realize, I said, parenting is training, and training up a child. Every time you are doing this with your child, guess what? You are training your child to realize that what's most important is not me and you, it's me and this. And if me and this is important, guess what? Everything that beams out of here parents me the way I should go. So we need to understand that social media could distract you. It helps model behaviors. Before you know, you see yourself acting, talking, resounding things you shouldn't. There are words that cannot be said in my house. There are things that cannot be done. I got to realize that every time my children are watching things online, it's helping them grow. But as a digital parent and as an intentional parent, I learn to help them walk that walk. So they don't import what is alien to my family values into my home. So in all, social media and social pressure profoundly shapes parenting, in the 21st century, bringing both benefits and challenges and so much more. So while social media provides valuable resource, support, network, and all those things, I see it's also introduced unrealistic expectations. It brings misinformation and privacy concerns, and you see sometimes just one little, sorry, please. I'm wrapping up.
Oh, that was yeah.
So by staying informed, basically I'm saying by staying informed, critically evaluating the information you get, prioritizing authenticity and all that, you get to use social media as a tool to enhance your parenting journey without succumbing to the pressures around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tejiri. Thank you so much. Yeah, so Children's Day. At least we took Children's Day to learn about parenting, so we are one of the great parents. So thank you so much, Mr. Tejiri, Dr. Tayo, and Pastor Chakor. Thank you for the discussions. So I'm going to hand over to my partner, Ola, to take us in the Q&A. Thank you.
Right. So we have about 10 minutes, actually less than that, to do the Q&A very quickly. So I'm going to ask the questions pointedly to each one of our panelists and get their response. Because we're out of time, I would like to take the liberty, as the all-powerful moderator that I am, to say you have about 1 minute each. I was going to say 7 sentences, but let's be honest and say 1 minute each, please. I know some of these things are sensitive, and you probably need to handle them, to speak to them according to that sensitivity. But let's be very brief. The first question is to you, Dr. Tayo. And the question says, is asking about abuse. How do you handle abuse? The question specifically says, how do you handle internal abuse? Like from a direct uncle or a stepfather? Please provide guidance to this.
Okay, well, it's just a direct question, and it will be a direct answer. Abuse comes when you said from a stepfather or an uncle, that is sexual abuse. You have no fear. All you just need to do is to speak to your mom or speak to someone who is close to you. You don't have to fear. You don't keep quiet anymore. You have your right to speak to get help. Because if you don't speak out, it will continue. Nobody will kill you. They will threaten you with it. They will threaten you about it, that if you tell anybody they are going to kill you, nothing will happen. Just come out and speak to someone. Speak to your teacher in school. Speak to your teacher in school, even if you can't speak to them at home, because it has its own long-term negative outcome. That era of keeping quiet is over. If you are going through any sexual abuse by a stepdad, an uncle, a neighbor, speak out to people. Speak out. That's my response on that. It's straightforward.
So before we move on from that, if this question is coming from a parent or a guardian, what would you say to them?
Hello?
I said, if this question was coming from a parent or a guardian, what would you say to them very quickly?
Okay, well, the parent, for example, knows that if that happens, they will not fold their hands. Parents don't fold their hands when an issue of sexual abuse comes up. And the first thing I would advise, which I always tell parents to do, is to make sure they speak with their children, observe these children, interact with them. When they are withdrawn, speak to them, ask questions, create time. So at times they want to talk to you, but you don't have time. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. So busy, so much, but by the time the damage is done, there's very little you can do, because that child would have been damaged beyond repair in some cases that I've seen, whereby they've had to run away from home. And even some children have developed some other sexual problems from any exposure to sex because they were not protected. And even we've seen cases whereby even within the home, even fathers abusing their own children. It's not that rampant with women, but more. The percentage is more with men. So parents know what to do. They need to start interacting and speaking to these children. And at times, don't sweep things up. Don't sweep things under the carpet. Even when you find out that that person is a family member, you don't sweep it under the carpet. So that's my take on that for parents.
Thank you very much. The next question is to Pete Chaks, Mr. Pastor Chakor. And it says, how does one who have had little or no relationship with their parents, more like an authoritarian type of parenting situation, how do they handle parenting without thinking too much about it, or getting scared, getting into it? Over to you, Ma.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that question, Udwak. So basically, when you are in such a situation where you've come from a background where maybe I would say maybe 80 or 70% of parents right now were brought up under that kind of parenting style, authoritarian parenting style. So the way for you not to, we tend to do the things that were done to us, to our children, is for you to learn, open your heart to learning, gaining parental skills so that you can use for your children. And you need to take that worry, fear in your heart to God. Or you need to deal with that fear and worry. It's so important so that it doesn't end up controlling you or making you feel less confident about being a good parent. So basically, open up yourself to learning and take your fear and worry. You have to take that fear and worry, but those two, you need to deal with that in prayer and go to His Word to know that you are able to. He said we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So God will give you the grace to be able to bring up your child the right way. That's how I will answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. TJ. Over to you. We have two questions for you. The first is, what advice would you give a single mom raising a son alone? How do you make him not to be too dependent on the mom? And how do you get him not to miss what the fatherly role brings?
So I was trying to get the question. It says, what advice do you give to a single mom raising a son alone? How do I make him not to be overly dependent on me? Okay, and how do I get him not to miss what the fatherly role brings? I think, thank you for that question. Amazing question. The simple answer is get a coach. Reach someone like me. There are a lot of us out there, and that's part of the work we do is support parents in parenting. So just like it's like asking your asking the question, how do I get my son to learn maths without depending on me? You send him to school, get him a maths teacher. So also you want him to experience what it is like to have a father in the life. You can get a fatherly figure, like who can be a mentor. You can get a coach who can help him walk through the paths where he discovers himself and then start to live in the true essence of who he is. So get a coach. The truth is, we can't do parenting alone. We can't do parenting alone. Let's not just think that, oh, because it's my child. My wife is the one who echoes what I'm saying so much. Yesterday, when we got married, she was the one going around, I want to have children, and all that. And then when we had one, I reminded her last night that she was the one crying for children, and it's Children's Day, let's make some children. And she said, not me. So why is it? Because she got overwhelmed at a point in time. It's not just the joy and of having children. There is a responsibility to that. So that is why you need to get support system. Having coaches, mentors for your child is very important. And well, I'm sorry, you still have to get very involved. And I know you're doing great by saying you don't want to get him overly dependent. And that's very good. But please get a coach, get a mentor, and please don't just get anyone you see that you like. Get people who are certified, who are in systems that you can relate with. And there are many of their fantastic boys. There's a friend of mine in Abuja, Buka, fantastic boys coach, a girls coach. There's the Belema in Port Harcourt. So we are spread around. People who know what they're doing. People who also have God in heart, and they have a heart of gold, running after God. There are many of us out there who can be of support to you.
Thank you very much. So the last question, we are out of time. So I'll throw this question to Dr. Tayo and ask that he takes 5 plus 2 seconds to answer this. The question goes, how do you go about handling screen time for a child that is already addicted or dependent?
I didn't pick you.
Over to you, Dr. Tayo.
I didn't pick screen time. That is watching television.
Yes, how do you handle screen time for a child that is already addicted or dependent on it?
Okay, all addiction, addiction is a learned behavior. It is a learned behavior, and it was encouraged over time. And it has to unlearn. When you want to deal with this, it has to come with discipline and readiness by the parent. So there are procedures which is going to follow. There's reinforcement, there's gains, and there are times. And as long as this starts affecting the child's performance in school, because it must start affecting one or two things around the child. So you have to regulate. It's still a child, and it is what the parents dictate that will work. You cannot allow a child to watch TV from during the week till 11:30, 12 midnight, and he's going to go to school next day. But so many parents allow these children to have their way, and that takes us to what Pastor said. They talked about parenting style. To the parenting side, the way I quickly take you to the permissive parenting style there, whereby the child has been permitted to do what he or she likes. He wakes up by 2 a.m., you go to the secretary, you find him there. So he has been reinforced. That behavior has been reinforced. So you are going to take him through the process by drawing measures which will curb these excesses. So there are methods and there are programs. You can reach me. I can draw a program for you through the moderators to help you work with this child over this. But it has to be
Thank you.
between the child and you are still the authority.
Thank you very much. So to round this up, I would ask for one last word, 10 seconds each. We're already out of time. We're over time, as a matter of fact. So to allow our parents to return to their children, let's take one last word, 10 seconds each, starting with Pastor Chakor. Go.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again. So my one last word would be that to encourage every parent here that it's not too late to start parenting right or parenting with purpose. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. You can do it because God is your strength, and you have all this. The people that have been invited, Dr. Tayo, Dr. TJ, and a lot of other resources to consult to help you in your parenting responsibility towards your children. So God bless you.
Amen. Dr. Tayo.
Parenting is like. Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible enough? Hello.
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Parenting is like a baton. It's like a baton where we pass it from one generation to the other. It is continuous. So if you even take a back view in your own family, it's been generational. It is going to continue. But what are you able to make during your own generation? What impact are you able to contribute to your children, your grandchildren, which you might be fortunate to see, and your great-grandchildren? You, as a parent, must make sure you leave an impact. And now, what do? You have to be upright, you have to be honest, you have to be responsible. Because like I say, the first mirror, the first place where the child learns is from the home setting. And we are the first teachers. The parents are the first teachers. Their parents are supposed to teach morals, while teachers are supposed to teach subjects in school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And TJ, 10 seconds, your final word.
Thank you very much. Parenting, or dear parents, parenting actually helps you to understand your Father God. The more you put yourself into parenting, the more you get to understand your Father. The more you see the best of God flow through you to your child. And please remember, you do not own your child. God owns your child. So he will always support and supply. What you do is you owe your child the responsibility to understand the supply and then use it to supply the best of himself to humanity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for staying with us for 1 hour, 30 minutes. I will now hand over to Dr. Osasuyi Dirisu. Over to you, Ma.
Okay, thank you so much, Laolu. Wow, I don't even know where to start from. I think the first thing to do is just say thank you so much to our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much, Pastor Chakor, Ogidigbo. Thank you, Dr. Tayo Ajirotutu. Thank you, Tejiri Chunu. If we're going to pay you guys to come and deliver this very deep insights, I don't think we'll be able to afford it, but thank you for lending your time to this very important conversation. What a way to mark Children's Day. At least parents showed up today to support their children. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. There's so much that we've learned. Pastor Chakor said it's not too late to start parenting with purpose. So it's not for you to throw in the towel and say, oh, wow, it's too late. No, it's not too late. You can take, from where you are now, you can actually begin to trust the Holy Spirit and trust God to help you to come back in track. And like we've learned, there's so much about parenting and skills that you can learn. So this is the time to reflect on the learnings. The recordings will be on YouTube and Facebook and Holyhill Church. So you can go back and play and just reflect again on some of the learnings and begin to do what we're learning today. That's how we're going to see results. Thank you. Dr. Tayo said the parent is the first mirror and teacher of their children. So just knowing that my child is going to be my mirror, puts that burden of responsibility on me to ensure that that model, and Pastor Chakor talked about that model that the children should see. We shouldn't be do as I say, but we should be able to say do as you see me do. And then finally, Tejiri brought this last word about not having to do it alone, knowing that God is our Father, God owns the children, so we're just custodians. There's a wonderful intergenerational ripple with ensuring that we parent with purpose. So thank you so much, everyone. And this webinar was organized by the Children's Church of the Holyhill Church. We're happy to continue to engage. If you've indicated in the registration that we can send you information about webinars in the future, we'll be sure to contact you when we have the next webinar. Until then, keep parenting with purpose and good night. Thank you.